Hey, let me see if I can get back here to the thing. Boom. All right. Welcome back to Common Mansplaining. I have no idea what's going on with StreamYard. I don't know if this is even working. So we're going to run a test today to see if this actually picks up more people than, I mean, literally we got 7 views total. And it's gone down each time too. I don't understand.
Yeah,
why
to
do that.
see if YouTube is deprioritizing us in the
It might
algorithm
be.
or whatnot. But yeah,
It might be. Let's see. I'm going to try to put this up and to go into this. All right. Yeah, see if you can get yours back up. I mean, we had 5 likes, which is crazy out of like 7 total views, which doesn't really make much sense. But all right. So, let's see. So yeah, this is, I mean, all right. So that's in. Okay. I'm in there. I don't know why. Oh no, this is not the right thing. Okay. Boom. All right. So then now I'm in the right spot. Okay. All right. So we'll continue going on. Sorry, I don't know what happened, guys, and I'm not sure why we're not getting the visibility that we used to. It might be college championships. I know one guy I talked to today that said, I asked to come and see us. He said that he was going to be watching the championships, but I mean, most of the people I talked to said they were coming. So I don't know if they forgot about it or if there's something actually wrong with it. And we, unlike the previous 2 times, we have pretty good shorts volume, which usually feeds into the live show. So I'm not sure why. But anyway, so all right. So we're talking about Greenland and why Trump's rhetoric, in my opinion, really transfers this from what normally would have been a completely above the board deal to something that could be considered, negotiating at the end of a barrel.
yeah, unnecessarily aggressive, and the implication, right? His implications have gone dark. Now,
Right.
he might be thinking that this isn't a delicate negotiation. He's not negotiating with an enemy like China or Russia or something that
Sure.
needs to be delicate. That this is a somebody, that we've had long trade deals. They've seen the benefit of operating under American military's umbrella, largely like we talked about shipping, the big shipping magnet, and being able to benefit from that. So he's not being delicate with them. He's being a little rough with them. He's being a little bold with them. And he's saying, look, this is an unwanted asset. This is just costing you money. The people there don't like you. You're just holding on to it for pride reasons. Right?
Yeah,
He's
they
just
are.
calling you want to just be seen, and right when it comes down to real like brass tacks about geopolitical, like who's going to defend it, who needs to control this, right? It makes more sense for the U.S. to do it,
Right.
and so for him, his answer is common sense, and their answer is pride, and we'd
But
rather
again,
not. But and we have sovereignty, so this is really unseemly. You shouldn't push it, but he's pushing it, right? And that's his sales, or that's his thing. He's not giving up just because they're saying we'd rather not. He's
right.
pushing it and making them come up with, hey, we're providing all of this already. Now this is the only reason why you want to hold on to it. We're what makes Greenland valuable. If we withdraw that, and Greenland now becomes, instead of $600 million a year, something that costs but a $6 billion a year cost for or more for Denmark, then they might reevaluate it.
Yeah, but
And
again, I'm fine with hardball negotiations,
yeah,
right? It's just the fact that he like slides that threat there in the back of their mind, right? And I mean, it's not even if he doesn't mean it, and I hope he doesn't,
Mhm.
right? I hope he doesn't. But I have to admit to myself that this is better than better than 50% chance that he does. Better
Oh,
than
no, not
50%
better
chance.
than 50%. There's a non-zero chance, but I don't think it's
No,
more than
I'm not
50%.
saying
I think
better than
you're out there.
50% chance that he's actually going to invade, but
Okay.
there's better than a 50% chance that that's what he means when he says these words, right? Better than 50% chance that he is negotiating with the tactic that they might believe that he would invade. And let's be honest, between all of the timid left wingers out there who are willing to propagandize and all of the people who are already terrified of Trump and all the people who already hate America, I'm sure that's what they think. Right. And they're more than happy to tell us on all these ridiculous news outlets. They're like, oh God, Trump is going to end the world. Right. And so I want to kind of move to that next, because if we
Yeah,
really
please.
want to de escalate, the worst thing that you can do is start saying, oh, this is the end of NATO. This is literally, there was literally a headline that actually said, this is the end of the world as we know it. Like the song, you're like, it's the end of the world as we, I'm like,
Well,
oh,
if Pax Americana, if right, they're not going to be able to sleep under the blanket of our unquestioned defense,
right,
right? Unless we see a benefit to it. I think
right,
that's the thing is they've risen up so much to be a geopolitical rivals of the U.S., economic rivals, and hostile to our right, recognizing Gaza as a nation and spiting us in other areas in foreign policy, that we're like, what are we getting out of NATO essentially? And so he's pressing it. Now I think the left, to some degree, right, this is Trump derangement syndrome. They just
yeah,
want to see Trump get a loss.
of
They just
course,
don't want to see him get something that he wants.
of
Right
course,
after his successful incursions into Iran and into Venezuela.
yeah,
They just don't want him to. They don't want him to succeed. Whether
of
it's
course,
good for America, good for the world order, or anything, or whether it makes common sense, they
yeah,
just want Trump to be frustrated and fail,
of course. And I
right?
mean,
And
Venezuela was,
so they're going to spin anything that he wants. They're going to be on board supporting the little guy or whoever is opposing him,
of course,
whether they
the
thought
underdog.
everything through, right?
And Venezuela was kind of like that too. I mean, they wanted to poo-poo it as hard as they could. Of course, the moment the whole mission was revealed to be a resounding success, like execution wise, and everybody kind of seems to be in
And the
favor
whole
of
country is in favor of it. Well,
it.
I mean,
Right,
not the whole country, but vast
right.
majority. Like,
Which, by the way, that shouldn't change anything. Like it
yeah.
did, but it shouldn't. So for those of you out there, if you're one of those people who changed your mind based on the ends, then you're using an ends justifies the means argument, and that's not good, sound
Well, if the
philosophical
people in
logic.
Greenland would be happy with American governance, I think that also is a notch in favor. Now, right, the left are going to report on any type of protest, any type of public demonstration
Of
that's
course.
anti-U.S. and say that everybody in Greenland, wants the U.S. to stop making these overtures.
Yeah, of course. Now, so let's talk about that for a moment. Now, one of the things that is important to note is that right now, Greenland doesn't seem to want American rule. But part of that is because of the propaganda, right? You got to remember that Greenland is run by Denmark. The propaganda is going to be decidedly left leaning. They don't like America. The propaganda is going to be decidedly anti American. And one of the things that I'm seeing, like when I look at some of the things that are being displayed in Greenland, not only the protests that are covered, but also the stuff that shows up on their outlets, is it's all very like socialist program related. It's like, oh gosh, what do we do when we no longer have free healthcare? What do we do when we no longer have free education? Now, here's the interesting thing. One of the things that I've always said about this, if we're going to make a deal for Greenland, all Trump has to do is really offer them a bribe, and it's going to be relatively cheap to get it, right? Like if we were to, for example, offer everybody in Greenland 2 million bucks. First of all, I'd move to Greenland. But second of all, $2 million eats every last one of those concerns, right? Worried about free education? Who cares? You're a millionaire, you can afford it. Worried about healthcare costs? Who cares? You're a millionaire, you can afford it, right? It would not take much for he would if he offered everybody in Greenland 2 million bucks, that's like $100 billion. It's like nothing. Nothing for an entire territory that size with the outrageous wealth and minerals that it has. That's nothing. He would, and heck, let's say we even gave Denmark 500 billion, for their share of the bribe. Like, literally, sextuple times what we offer the whole for Greenland. The whole thing is $600 billion. That's a steal. That's a steal. There's trillions of dollars of natural resources in there, maybe tens of trillions. We'd recoup our investment in moments. Everybody be happy. Most of them would be million. I would probably move to Greenland to be a millionaire
We
too.
could offer them. They can set up lucrative daycare operations that we would just look the other way on. That could be also something. Well, we'll pay you to set up home daycares that we won't audit.
So real quick, for those who are just tuning in, were you guys able to see us like 20 minutes ago? Because we were live, but we were on StreamYard. I'm getting the sense that StreamYard is not displaying our live on the shorts feed, or people aren't able to see us. But now all of a sudden we got 11, 12, 13 people, whereas before we were struggling to get 3. And normally we get hundreds, so I don't know what's going on or why that is taking place. I'll have to do some research, but anyway, I apologize for that. But so yeah, I think that an easy no-brainer here is just offer them a price that incorporates covering the citizenry of Greenland.
Grant them citizenship. You don't want to live in Greenland now. Here's $2 million. Say hello to Florida with $2 million, right? And they're like,
right.
Or something like that. Yeah.
Right, where there's not like 18 feet of snow, and like you can actually but even if that, I can't imagine, even if that doesn't work. I have to go back to the age-old adage: every man has their price, right?
Yeah.
Like there is a point at which all of a sudden Greenland's polls go from 85% against to 60% against to 40% against to 70% in favor. It will not be long before, if all he has to do is find the right price, and Trump's already set himself up to do it, I guarantee you they find a deal here. And I mean, there's not only carrot but stick, right? That's the carrot side. Of course, the stick side comes into play too. If they don't do it, what already has started to happen is he's going to start ramping up tariffs. He's going to start ramping up economic pressure. He's going to threaten to take away NATO, America from NATO. And then what are they left with?
Now, I just had a thought while you were talking about that. I mean, that idea of $2 million to the common man seems really, really good, right?
Right.
Now, well, let's call it the Palantonio proposal. But what you're going to find kickback on is the elites are going to want a bigger cut of that, right?
Of course.
And so it's always the elites that are the obstacle here, and it's why Donald Trump has so much disdain for them. So why do the Danish elites not want this? Is it pride? Is it right? So that's what I'd like to get. I don't know enough about the Danish elites. Is it that they want a bigger cut of they don't want every single Greenlander to have $2 million in wealth? They'd want to hoard all of it and piece it out a little by little or something like that.
I can only partially answer that question because I haven't finished my research in that aspect. But one of the things is actually, and people may not realize this, but Denmark actually is in some ways more economically free than America. So in some ways, they would actually be sacrificing some of their freedoms as elites. Like some ways,
to start small businesses in Greenland, we already know they're holding back economic development because of climate change. I mean, this is their doctrine that they're stated openly.
That's part of it. So they might actually just be bought into that stuff to the level where they just don't, But part of it is stuff like, for example, they don't have minimum wage in Denmark. Right? Like people don't even realize that. Everybody in America on the left pictures Denmark as this like socialist utopia. And there are many things that like if we, said, by the way, like we've like, hey, we'll just get rid of minimum wage like they do. They're like, whoa, what? Like they don't realize the economic freedoms that Denmark has that we don't have. And we have some economic freedoms that they don't have. It's not exactly like apples to apples, right? They act like it's just they have everything we have plus more socialist stuff. No, they're missing some things that an elite who's looking to if they were just looking to earn money, they would have to sacrifice on. I'm not saying that's the entire reason. Like I said, I haven't finished my research there, but it is intriguing that like they're not just America plus socialism, right? It's not just like a strict ad. So it's kind of funny that everybody treats them like that. Like, oh, what about Scandinavia? What about this, that, and the other? They're all just, socialist utopias. Not really. Not
Uh,
really.
I don't know, but Denmark they have delicious breakfast
Right? Yeah,
bakery
the
goods.
Danishes,
Yeah.
right? So, yeah, obviously, I'm against this if it comes at the barrel of a threat. Now,
Yeah.
here's something I want to delve into the philosophical briefly before we turn
Mhm.
this off. With regard to interventionism, right? Like one of my obviously I'm not really an interventionist and you know this. I don't know that Trump is what I would call an interventionist either. He's kind of what I've heard described as a conservative imperialist. So it's a little bit different, right? Like it's kind of like it's not either extreme, right? It's not the strict conservative isolationism. It's not the, war hawk, get involved in everything we can. It's just kind of like, pick and choose measured
He
decisions.
does
And
think
this
he
is
wants
one
to
of
be
the
limited. Like he draws a scope and he wants to stick to that. Like he's not
right.
just like committed to things open ended.
Right. Now, my basic problem with interventionism is a principle one again, right? So it's I don't like taking away somebody's sovereignty. I don't like I presume that each nation has the right to self-determination. Hey Spartacus, how's it going? And so anytime we would act in a way that would take away that self-determination, I'm not happy. Now, again, as long as this is a purchase, we're abiding by that self-determination because they can self-determine to take the purchase, they can self-determine not to. But if they're under the impression that they don't have the option not to, right? And so
Well,
one of my
yeah.
I
Yeah,
mean,
Trump is claiming that China or Russia are imminent threat if the U.S. doesn't get in there and start setting things up. And maybe he's looking forward 25 years in the future. Right? We've talked about how a lot of and you've reiterated this. This is a theme on our channel. How so much of thinking on the left, but in general, is held back by short-term thinking and not having long-term plans. And sure, maybe Russia and China don't have plans to invade this year, right? But
right,
but Trump maybe isn't looking to take over Greenland this year. But having started so that we have control, even if it's a U.S. territory or something, we have 10 years to sort of build up defenses or infrastructure or things like that we can be established, so we can sort of take Greenland off the board
right.
for China and Russia. That's
And I mean,
essentially right now. China and Russia, yeah, aren't there, but it's still a piece on the board that they can consider, and he
right.
would like to remove that piece from their consideration.
Yeah, now here's the problem I have with that, right? Because there's no question in my mind that America having control of Greenland is what's best for America, like results wise. No question in my mind, it's probably what's best for Denmark. It's almost certainly what's best for NATO, right? And it's probably what's worse for countries like Russia and China, right? So essentially, that's a win-win-win-win-win. Now, what what I have the problem with, of course, is the self determination crop. But here's another aspect to consider, right? If America can justify just annexing something because we claim it's a national security interest, then why, philosophically speaking, can't Russia annex Ukraine for national security? Why,
They did.
philosophically speaking, can China not annex Taiwan for national security? Both of them would claim the exact same reasoning that we're using here. And I'm almost worried that us doing this kind of sets a weird worldwide precedent where China's like, Russia did it, America did it, might as well get Taiwan.
If we invade, I would say yes, but right now it's still a negotiation phase, and it's hardball negotiations. So
Yeah,
right
there's that.
now, it is, even though you don't like how he's negotiating and his words, they are still words.
Yeah,
And
that's true.
so, as a libertarian or a non-interventionist, or even as a pacifist, would have to say, you have to speak hard words, and you have to seem eager to do hard things if you're gonna get away a deal that avoids actual military stuff. Him coming in and just taking military off the table and saying the last thing I want to do is invade means that he's not going to get any real negotiation, right? But coming in almost saying that he's eager to see, how quickly he can overtake a country, seeing as we took over Panama in about 25 minutes, and that's 3 million people with a and you know I but right now the core is it's words. They're not words that you like, but maybe they'll lead to a point, right? Like you said, from crazy to sane, and hopefully people will think this through. He is going to offend elites' pride. He's going to offend maybe some people who have a economic interest, some elites who control that 600 million that comes from Denmark every year is a lump thing. They get to control where it goes in Greenland. Those elites might not want anything to change. There's lots of stuff that lots of kickback to change, but ultimately, if it's a better order, he should at least push for it. But yeah, it may not happen. But just sort of laughing it off. Trump has been laughed off or dismissed. Oh, this is ridiculous. He can't secure the border. He can't do this, and that. He can, and then down the road we see that it ends up being beneficial. So we're going to have to just give this some time and see where it goes. But it is something the world is watching, and it is, he is coming from a place where the propaganda and the media are not with him on this. So it's one thing if the whole nation was 100% behind him. But he's willing to take a political hit, I think, for this, to look like a bad guy in the short term, to be easily propagandized as evil warmongering, Hitler, da 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 da. If he sees the long term, using long term thinking, not short term thinking, it's going to be better for everybody, especially the Greenlanders. And that's what I hope. If everybody can let their egos go away and see what's happening.
Now, last question for you. One of my biggest critiques of Trump as a president in all things is that he does a lot of things by executive action. This is essentially no different, even though it's not, doesn't use the same kind of mechanism as normal. But I'm worried that he goes through all this rigmarole, gets Greenland, right? Finally acquires a sale, whether, however he does it, right? And then some sleazeball like Newsom wins or something by a miracle, and then it's we'll just give it back.
Well, that's why Congress has already drafted laws and stuff to make it so that that's not,
What do they?
But it's somebody draft a law to make Greenland the 51st state or something like that. Obviously, it would. I think they'd have to be a territory for at least 10 years.
Yeah, I hope so. It has to be codified in something.
Right, but that yes, there are people that will spitefully try to undo Trump's achievements, whether they're good or bad, and and sort of knee-jerk things. This is why our votes matter. Why we need to not vote for Gavin Newsom.
No kidding.
For a lot of reasons. But yeah, that's true. What can be done can be undone. And one of the things I think Denmark is thinking is maybe they can run out the clock on Trump, and the next person won't have
they got a long way to go.
Won't have the cojones to negotiate as forcefully for this.
Right.
Than before, because it's been something that America has wanted, but they've been able to just say we're not interested, not have anybody be indecent about it. But, Trump is going to force them to defend it in ways and put risk and say, is this more important to you than having the U.S. in this treaty, which maybe needs to be reevaluated? And maybe at the end, he achieves that by just getting Europe and Denmark to spend, a larger part of their budgets on their military, so that we don't have to have, if the U.S. is only, say, 45% of NATO's military might, wouldn't that be something instead of 75%?
I'd be delighted. Now, so I will say this. you know, everybody knows that I don't really care for Trump, but I have to give him this one thing. Empires, for the most part, really only do two things. They either rise or they fall. It's almost impossible to find an empire that just kind of like remains static. You don't see that. You see empires that are rising, empires that are falling. Well, Trump is the first person in a long time that has made this a rising empire. I'll give him that. Now, whether that's for better or worse, we'll find out soon. But I'll say, I mean, I don't understand. I mean, for better or worse, I'm not really an imperialist, but we are an empire, right? And basically, we have to acknowledge that America is an empire. We basically have been since the Louisiana Purchase, right? Like
Yeah.
that's just the fact of life. And so, I guess we have to behave like that if we want to maintain it. I don't know. I don't
Well,
know. I don't.
we should be imperialism through persuasion. We should persuade and
Yeah,
hopefully have people vote
you're right.
and decide that it's in their best interest. That's the new wave of imperialism. Countries can join the United States, but not through military strong arming, coercion, or conquering, but through an offer, through negotiation, and through their own electoral and democratic processes.
Agreed. All right. Well, guys, I'm so sorry that I don't think you guys are able to see. I don't. Maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah,
Uh,
but we got a lot better turnout once we switched
we got
over.
it was like night and day different. Like immediately people started showing up, and that I feel like they could not see me when we were on StreamYard. So I'm going to do some research into that and see if I can't figure out what went wrong, what went right. Please like, share, and subscribe. And let me know if you know anything about this. Leave a comment and let me know why it didn't work when StreamYard was up. But anyway, I'll catch you guys next time on Common Mansplaining.
They coming.